There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested.
To protect the victims, it was built to protect the victims. It was built to shield the predators, and the man who saw it all coming years before anyone else. That was Joe Rogan. Long before any court-ordered documents saw the light of day, the world's elite, billionaires, tech founders, and world leaders surrounded Jeffrey Epstein like moths to a flame. But Rogan sensed the rot immediately. Now, with the latest unredacted file dump, he's connecting the dots on exactly what went down inside Epstein's labyrinth of power. The public finally has a real window into how this corrupt machine actually ran. Rogan observed recently on his podcast. He pointed to MIT's behavior after Epstein's 2008 conviction. They were still taking his cash but trying to hide it, marking his donations as anonymous. They literally referred to him as Voldemort internally, like you couldn't even say his name out loud. Think about that. Rogan continued. After he'd already been to jail, there was still a parade of people meeting him, doing deals with him, and traveling with him. It's mind-blowing. When asked if he dives deep into the documents himself, Rogan admitted he can't. I have experts on to break it down. I just skim. If I go too deep, it gets stuck in your head. It's toxic. It'll really mess with your psyche. One of the most fascinating reveals from the recent document trove involves Rogan himself. Back in 2017, theoretical physicist Lawrence Krauss, a guest on Rogan's show, acted as a middleman. An email chain between Krauss and Epstein was unsealed, showing Epstein's interest. Epstein wrote to Krauss, "Things are wild. Saw you were on Rogan. Can you set up an intro? I think he's hilarious." Krauss agreed. Epstein then sweetened the potential deal. If Rogan wants, he could have dinner with Woody Allen this Friday. Krauss later updated Epstein with a telling line, "Still no luck with Rogan. He's more hesitant than I expected." At that time, Epstein was a registered sex offender, yet he was still globetrotting and emailing with icons like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and Prince Andrew. Rogan's gut told him to run. Rogan credits his survival instinct to Alex Jones. Years before the first file was leaked, Jones was on air screaming about Epstein's island. "I'm actually in the files for not going," Rogan laughed. "Epstein was trying to meet me. I was like, no thanks. Looking back, I would never have gone. I Googled the guy and thought, what the hell are you talking about?" He continued, "If I were some sycophant chasing power, maybe. But some people just get drunk on being near the powerful. They don't even want to be them. They just want to orbit them." Rogan explained Epstein's genius. He gathered Nobel winners, politicians, and celebrities. You'd think Clinton's here, Steven Pinker's here. How bad could it be? But Rogan knew better, largely because Alex Jones had been screaming warnings for decades. Jones's theory was dark. The island wasn't just a party spot, it was a honey trap. Epstein was allegedly filming everyone, gathering blackmail material to compromise the most powerful people on the planet. By 2017, Epstein was a convicted predator, yet Bill Gates was still meeting with him. That fact alone screams that something deeper was at play. This raises the terrifying question, why was Epstein collecting this material, and how did a man with his history gain access to such circles? His connections to the Saudi and British royal families weren't accidental. Rogan believes Epstein was likely an asset for an intelligence agency. If you put a gun to my head and asked who Epstein worked for, I'd guess Mossad or the CIA, Rogan speculated. He could have been a guy they used, an asset. He was a money laundering genius. He had incomprehensible wealth with no paper trail. That screams state funding. Eric Weinstein, the mathematician, saw through him instantly. Rogan recalled Weinstein's story. During their first meeting, Epstein had a young woman on his lap, bouncing her while asking complex math questions. He was nerd fishing, and he caught a lot of them. Those guys went to the island thinking they were going to party with geniuses. All of this was documented in Epstein's secret black book, names, dates, and phone numbers. Only one copy existed, and it vanished. Then, in 2009, the FBI found someone trying to sell it online. They set up a sting. The video of that operation was just released. The video shows Alfredo Rodriguez, Epstein's former Palm Beach house manager, meeting an undercover agent. "You will see a lot of important people here," Rodriguez says, flipping through the pages. He points to a section, names, black names, area codes. Who created this book? The agent asks. Epstein himself, Rodriguez replies. He implicates Ghislaine Maxwell directly, calling her a very powerful lady from England. He claims she traveled to Eastern Europe to recruit. Rodriguez also alleged Maxwell kept a computer database. Pictures, naked girls from Sweden, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Brazil, all young, 16, 17 years old. He provided no proof, but the video ends with the agent handing over cash and promising to call a lawyer. The FBI had this intel in 2009, yet did nothing. It wasn't just the island. The Lolita Express private jet was a flying crime scene. Victims testified that Epstein couldn't take a 2-hour flight without assaulting someone. Everyone saw it, pilots, crew, and guests. They all turned a blind eye. One survivor described the horror. It took doctors, psychiatrists, drivers, maids. Everyone knew. They weren't blind, they just looked away. The justice system failed us then. Flight logs in the new release showed Donald Trump listed on 8 flights between 1993 and 1996. On 4 of those, Ghislaine Maxwell was also aboard. One 1993 flight log lists only Epstein and Trump. Another lists Epstein, Trump, and a 20-year-old woman, the rest of the line redacted. Being on a log isn't a crime, but it proves association. It fuels speculation. Why was Trump, then a businessman, traveling so frequently with a known predator? The logs don't lie about the company he kept. A survivor of Jeffrey Epstein described an environment of relentless abuse, estimating that it occurred 95% of the time. She said Epstein couldn't go 2 hours without a victim, portraying a pattern of constant exploitation. To cope with the trauma, she turned to Xanax, explaining that it dulled her anger and sadness until she felt like nothing more than a shell of herself. Recently, the United States Department of Justice unsealed 6 additional names of billionaires connected to Epstein. According to reports, these names had previously been redacted and were disclosed only after pressure from senators demanding greater transparency. The development sparked outrage online. One widely shared post claimed that authorities had redacted the names of alleged predators rather than victims, arguing that officials were meant to shield victims but instead protected the powerful. Another post alleged the situation was less about safeguarding children and more about insulating wealthy political figures, calling it an unprecedented cover-up. Thomas Massie stated that members of Congress spent 2 hours at the DOJ reviewing files and found that 70 to 80% of the material remains redacted. He said they identified 6 influential men whose names had been withheld without clear justification, and that the department acknowledged the issue and released them. Massie questioned how many more names might be buried within an estimated 3 million files. Podcaster Joe Rogan voiced similar frustration, arguing that authorities possess client lists and video evidence yet have not pursued further arrests. Epstein's so-called Black Book was recovered in 2009, but critics note no additional clients have faced trial. Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a prison sentence for sex trafficking. Rogan and others question why the alleged clients have not been publicly identified, warning that public anger will intensify if no further prosecutions occur.